been waiting for this one for a while. Actually, I just kind of put it off, but today we are looking at the AirPod 4s.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, no way, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road, all on my own. I'ma be the greatest, write my name in the stone. Write my name in the stone.
Revisiting AirPods. So I've had the AirPod Pro 2s in the past, and I was actually extremely disappointed with them. In fact, I made a video going over why I thought they kind of sucked, and that was mixed reviews on that video. But for me personally, my biggest issue with those were they just fell on my ear. I only ever used the rubber tips. I never tried the aftermarket foam tips, and I heard that helped quite a bit with keeping them in your ear. But aside from that, I also just thought that they didn't necessarily sound the best, and they, you know, for their price, thought they were a little overhyped. That being said, I absolutely love the Apple ecosystem when it comes to AirPods connecting to your other Apple devices. And it's something that I wanted to keep, and it's something that I didn't really want to stray far from. I actually ended up going to the Beats Buds or whatever. They're the like $100 pair. And they were not the same as AirPods. And just overall how streamlined the usability was. They sounded okay. They didn't sound like phenomenal by any means. They did the trick. The biggest thing was though that they stayed in my ear. That was the biggest thing. So I've been rocking those, but I have been wanting to go back to AirPods. And so Apple released the AirPod 4s. Supposedly these things stay in your ear quite a bit better than any of the other designs that Apple has put out there, including the Pros. I will be the judge of that, obviously, but I'm really hoping that is the case. I typically am pro like rubber tip and, you know, sealing off, because that gives you the best noise cancellation, and it lets you, especially when you're in the gym, which is like 90% of where I use earbuds, it lets you focus in, and it lets you kind of, you know, get the distraction of the outer world out of your ears. So I'm really curious to see how the noise cancellation works on these. There is no rubber buffer that's going to keep, you know, everything out. So it'll be interesting. And I've heard mixed reviews of people saying like, yeah, it does have noise cancellation, but it's not, you know, obviously it's not going to be as good as something with a closed off tip, you know, whether over the ear or whatever. I actually haven't put these in yet. So you're going to see in real time me put these in, try them out, and see what I think about them. And then I still have to go to the gym tonight, so I'm going to go to the gym, see if they stay in my ear, because that was the biggest place where my Pro 2s always fell out, especially when I went back on a bench. They would just plop out of my ears. So especially when you start sweating, it was the worst. So I'm going to put these through a workout and see how they do. I did briefly want to run through basic specs. As far as the connectivity goes, it has Bluetooth 5.3 for the wireless technology. You're gonna get 4 hours of listening time on one single charge. Taking the buds out of the charging case, you'll get 4 hours. That's with noise cancellation. 5 hours without noise cancellation. 20 hours total of just putting them back into the charging case and then charging them there and then putting them back into your ears without plugging the whole thing back into power. 20 hours with noise cancellation. 30 hours without noise cancellation. So you get an additional 10 hours if you're not using noise cancellation. And it says about 5 minutes in the case provides about 1 hour of listening time, which is great. That's your basic stats on these things. I believe it has Apple's H2 chip in it as well. You know, for those of you who care about that. Okay, so I'm going to throw these guys in my ear, and I'm gonna see how these feel, how they fit. I'll tell you what, the magnets seem really strong, at least stronger than usual on these things. So, all right, here we go. Okay. And I think active noise cancellation is on. Wow. That actually does a lot better than I thought it would. Because of the noise cancellation, I just realized that I left my little heater on over here, so I'm going to go turn that off actually. But it's doing enough that made me realize that, oh hey, that noise is gone now. So sure, it's not quite as, like, I can talk and I can still hear myself talk. It's not as prominent or, you know, noise cancelly as the Pros or something with that rubber gasket in there, but it does a pretty good job. I'm semi-impressed with this. This is doing a lot better job than I thought it would. And as always, it's the same controls as if you had the Pros. You've got your, you know, different modes that you can switch it to. Okay, so that's conversation awareness. Anytime it hears me talk, it turns noise cancellation off, which that does a lot better So that is one thing I will say. These probably work a lot better with conversation awareness because they don't have that rubber gasket in there completely closing your ear off, because I can actually hear a lot better with conversation awareness on these than I could on the pros, because that was one thing on the pros is like I ended up turning conversation awareness off because it didn't work anyways. Like if I was trying to talk to someone and it turned on, like I could hear them a little bit better, but I'd still end up just taking an earbud out. This actually does a pretty good job. Like I can hear myself talk, perfectly fine, and so that's not bad. I actually might try having conversation awareness at the gym. I might try having it on this time and seeing how it does. So I'm going to play a song here. I'm going to see how these things sound, because that's kind of the biggest thing is overall sound quality. Let's start with something. Let's start with something a little light. Maybe some Fit for a King. Okay, so overall, I'm like, they're not super impressive by any means. They sound good. They still sound good. I think it actually might be a step back from the Beats. I don't know. I'll have to compare. But it is a little weird having, going back to that no rubber feel. And it just kind of like lying there. I will say they're extremely comfortable. I kind of forget that they're in my ear. So hopefully they stay there and they don't fall out. That's kind of the biggest thing here is I'm kind of, it's all banking on whether I keep these things or not, banks on whether they stay in my ear. So that being said, I'm going to go to the gym now because I still have to do that. It's almost 8 o'clock. I'm gonna go to the gym, get a pretty decent workout in, and I'm not gonna document it because I really don't like recording in the gym. Regardless, I will come back here after having done that, and I'll give you the general report on whether or not these things stay in my ears, and after listening to a handful of songs, how I think they sound overall. So with the magic of editing, here we go to the end of that. And we're back the next day. I was going to film the rest of that after I got back from the gym last night, but I ended up watching the Monday night game and I went to bed afterwards. But I was able to use these guys for my workout, and I've actually used them a little bit this morning and last night in general, and just kind of for all sorts of things. General impressions. So when I was first when I first started at the gym, I thought, okay, I don't know if I'm impressed with these things or not. But so first off, most important thing, they stayed in my ear. They didn't fall out of my ear. At times it felt like they were a little loose, but I never actually felt like they were about to fall out, nor did they actually fall out. So that's a huge plus. That's a huge improvement from the pros. I think my ears, for some reason, just didn't like the pros shape, because I've used other earbuds with rubber tips, like the Beats Buds that I have. It was just for some reason the shape of the Pro 2s, for some reason, just it always fell out of my ear. These guys on the AirPod 4s, they stayed in my ear quite well. It's kind of a weird feel though. I think it's what Apple was going for. You kind of forget that they're there almost. They don't really feel like they're in your ear sometimes. Like sometimes I was like, are they still there? Because I had to double check. This is a really random sidebar, but I thought it was important to mention that they are Type-C. They're USB Type-C, not Lightning anymore. That's kind of the standard now that Apple's going for. But overall, I was impressed with how these sounded and with how they performed. The noise cancellation isn't as extravagant as something with rubber tips, something that's completely closed off. But that being said, it actually does a pretty decent job. It's more of a natural sounding noise cancellation, if that makes any sense, to where it doesn't sound like you're underwater or completely closed off to your environment, which I still, to an extent, kind of enjoy that. And like I was talking about, it's nice to not have any sort of noise come in. I don't know how these would perform on a plane per se, because specifically on an airplane, that's where having that completely closed off noise to get rid of the cabin air and like all the people around you get all their noise out. That's where it helps a lot to have that fully like blocked out from the world noise cancellation. These guys, I don't think are gonna do super hot on an airplane. I don't know. I'll have to see next time if I travel by airplane, if I have these things, see how they perform. But in a gym environment and in a household environment, they did a pretty good job. Like, they did the trick. I thought the noise cancellation was gonna be kind of gimmicky, if I'm being honest. I didn't really know how well it was gonna work without it being closed off. They did do a good job, so hats off to Apple. You figured out a way how to do noise cancellation without that rubber tip. If you're looking for like super bass from earbuds, I don't think Apple's really where you want to go. These are going to be your more like fully balanced, just clean sound. So for your daily use, just like having them for phone calls and for just listening to music, listening to YouTube videos, just having them in your ear all day, I think that's perfect. And overall, the size comparison to the Pros and to the other AirPods, it's kind of like in the middle, if that makes sense. It's not quite as tall as regular AirPods, not quite as wide as the Pros. They kind of just like smushed it all together and made it into one little small package. I gotta say, I'm a fan of the size. It fits pretty comfortably in the palm of your hand. Not that the others didn't. It's just like this, it's a fun size. I don't know. I enjoy this. And then the design of the actual bud itself, I mean, it's a mixture of the Pros and the regulars combined. It's, you know, it's without that rubber tip, of course. But it's great. I mean, this design works. Like I said, it didn't actually fall out of my ear, and I honestly forgot sometimes that it was even there. And that was kind of one of the reasons why I liked the first AirPods so much, is because they didn't hurt my ear at all. Like, that you would just forget that it was there, and that you could have them in there all day if you wanted. Whereas with the Beats Buds and other ones that I've tried, after a couple hours or an hour or so, like it starts to kind of hurt. You know, they fill out your ear a little too much. And I think that's why it's so hard to make a really good earbud that just works for everybody, that's comfortable, and that also sounds good and blocks out noise completely. Because to have that nice full tight seal, you know, you have to fill out the ear. You have to kind of push against the ear. So that's why it's so difficult to find something that works for everybody and also just performs well. And in my opinion, I think these do that pretty well, or at least the closest that I've tried. I was on the fence whether or not I was going to keep these or not. I will be honest, because I mean, if they fell out my ear, I was going to return them. That being said, I think I will probably hold on to these. I miss the Apple ecosystem and connectivity so much, to have these just connected to all my Apple devices and have it be so seamless to be able to switch through and switch over. That's something I missed a lot. And so the only thing these had to do right was stay in my ear, and they did that. But they also sound pretty good. So not to mention, these also have the whole Find My feature, where they can actually play a little alarm. And I think if I go into the app, so there you go. It'll play a nice little tune to let you know, hey, this is where your case is. The pods themselves don't actually play a sound, but if your case is missing, you can at least find that using the Find My app. It's pretty clutch. Overall, noise cancellation, pretty good. Not the best, pretty good. Sound quality, pretty good. Not the best, but pretty good. Connectivity and comfort, great. So if you're in the boat where you have the Pro 2s and you like the Pro 2s and they sound good and they work for your ears, and you're thinking about getting these for some reason, I honestly wouldn't. If the Pro 2s work for you, I would just stick with the Pro 2s. If you're coming from the AirPod 3s and you want to come over to the 4s, maybe upgrade. I don't know. It's, you know, it depends on whether if they work and they fit in your ear. If the 3s do, I don't see why you would have to upgrade to the 4s unless you're just wanting to renew them. If you really want that noise cancellation without having to pay the premium price of the Pros, I'd say it's worth it, because the noise cancellation was surprisingly effective for me. Like I said, not great, but it does do a pretty good job. These are a very situational item. It just kind of all depends on where you're at and, you know, what you already have. If you're just wanting to get into AirPods and you don't have anything, and you have like a cheap pair of something, but you're finally wanting to spend a little extra money on some decent wireless headphones, absolutely get these. I think the noise cancellation over the AirPod 3s, I think it's worth the price jump, because they were effective enough to me to justify to use it. If it really wasn't that effective, if it was just kind of like a gimmicky thing, I would say then just go with the 3s. But these performed well enough where I can actually say that it is worth it. But that is it for me, guys. A much better experience on my end with the AirPods 4 over the Pro 2s. Don't know if that'd be the case for you, but hopefully I offered some helpful information for you if you are on the fence of getting these things or not. As always, a huge thank you for those of you who stick around and watch the whole video. You guys are always my favorites, boosting my video retention, my viewing retention. That is what we're aiming for. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like down below. Also consider subscribing if you like tech content, camera content, video creation content, kind of, you know, outdoor content. It's a little bit of everything here. As of this video, I'm at 913 subscribers, and I'm doing a giveaway once I hit 1,000 of some DJI Mic 2s. I'll have a link to the video in my description, but if you want to get entered to win, all you have to do is subscribe and comment on that video. And then once I hit 1,000 subscribers, one of you is getting these guys. But as always, that is enough consuming content. Go out there, create something yourself. I will see you all in the next video.